What is going on, guys? Thank you for being here. Welcome back and welcome to a new video. Have any of you guys heard of Earthbag Domes? It's a really fucking weird name, but they're these really neat kind of off-grid homes. They're very cool. And if you go onto Google and you look up what they look like, they're kind of like they're just domes, right? They look like Adobe domes. But these can be modified in a myriad of different ways. And like, I've always dreamt of living in something different, right? Another really cool thing to look up, if you don't already know what these are, you guys, is Earthships, I think they're called. And I think these are really prevalent or common in the desert. They're called Earthships. And if my memory serves me well, I think not the foundation, but the sides of the Earthships are made from recycled tires. I know they use a lot of tires in these, but I think the majority of the construction on these Earthships, it's all made from recycled materials, and they use a natural form of air conditioning, which according to everything that I've looked up online, works remarkably effective, where they're like somehow channeling air underneath the ground where it's cool, and then the air's brought up into the home. And oftentimes the Earthships are like, they're basically like giant greenhouses that you're living in. So again, here's the thing, you guys. What is your vision of paradise? I talked about this in a recent video, where we oftentimes have the life that we're currently living, and then we have the life that we wish that we were living, right? So when you were younger, there's a good chance that your imagination was much more intact. You had a much more vivid, active imagination. And I know when I was younger, I had all sorts of visions of not only what I wanted to do when I, quote, grew up, but how I wanted to live. And I've always been interested in a more off-grid style of living. Now, I live in a pretty remote area here in Virginia, but I want to live even more remotely, right? So here's the thing, you guys. As I continue to stay on this diet that I'm forging, this is such a strong way of eating. And every day I'm experiencing these quantum leaps in my development. My mind's getting healthier. My spirit's growing stronger and hotter, like a fire that's been set ablaze that will not mute. I mean, it's just like every day this diet, it's like throwing coals on the fire of my spirit. My mind's getting stronger, faster. My memory's getting better. My strength levels on this way of eating, you guys, are insane. And I'm not reaching a plateau. Every day I get stronger than the day prior, and I'm not just exaggerating. I mean it when I say that. The tangible elevations in my strength, both mental and physical, is insane. But as I eat like this, you guys, I'm uncovering the fact that I've settled for things in life that aren't really in alignment with what my spirit truly wants. So I've always wanted, for as long as I can remember, to live way off grid, kind of in the middle of nowhere, and I'd like to raise the majority of my own food, right? So that is where the sail of my spirit is taking me. And if I weren't eating like this, I don't think that every fiber of my being would be behind this decision. It's not even a decision anymore. It's an inevitability. So here's the thing, you guys. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, and I don't want to be too repetitive because I've said this in prior videos. Proper diet will cause not only your body to grow and repair faster, but your mind. And in many ways, shapes, and forms, here in this insane world, which is a holographic puzzle of sorts, it's the underworld, guys. But in this type of world, having a strong mind, a balanced mind, a growing mind is almost in some ways more important than having a strong physical body, a healthy body. But that's a contradiction in and of itself because the body is the temple of the mind. So you want a way of eating that ensures the health and growth of both the body and the mind. The mind is like the operating system of the body, which is the hardware. But I mean, you can have a hard, attractive physical body, a very lean body, but not have a healthy mind, right? So the mind is absolutely like a muscle. And I think that so many of us don't utilize our mind to the potential that we could be using our minds, and I think it's largely because of foods. I think that a good portion of these additives that are in almost all the processed foods are there to numb you guys, and to dumb your mind down, because your mind is an infinitely powerful tool, right? It's an extension of God's will. And if your mind is full of a bunch of shit, you're not going to really be able to hear your calling in life through your intuition. And therefore, you might get stuck in a suboptimal way of living that you tolerate, but it isn't exactly what you want at the end of the day, right? So the more I eat like this, the stronger I get, the cleaner my mind gets. And I thought before I started this diet, you guys, that I had reached a point of pretty deep mental clarity and strength, but this diet has shown me that, man, I have so much room for development, and that's all I'm interested in, right? That's all I'm interested in. I pray constantly for God to show me how to improve myself, how to take myself to the next level and not get stuck in stasis. And it's really easy here in this world to get stuck in stasis, you guys. So I am so glad that I started the meat and fruit diet again. I've done this in the past, but I've made some changes to it, and I've modified it, and those modifications have made it 10,000-fold stronger than it was when I first did it, right? Now, I will throughout, or how would I say this? There are periods where I'll intentionally lower my amount of carbohydrates from fruit and from honey. There are times where I need to go into a ketogenic or even a ketovore diet, which ketogenic is 20 grams of carbs a day or less. Ketovore is 10. And there's times where I have, and I'll do it again, where I go into a zero carb carnivore diet, where I exclude all forms of carbohydrates to get the benefits of being in a zero carb diet, which I don't care what people say, a carnivore zero carb diet can be one of the most beneficial forms of therapy for the body and the mind, right? Have you ever heard of low carb Zen? That's a thing, you guys, where lowering the amount of carbohydrates in your diet, if you adapt to it, which the adaptation can be kind of stressful, but if you go through it and allow yourself to adapt to less carbohydrates, you tend to, over time, enter into a very fluid state of mind that's very calm. I think that people with like a bipolar disorder, I think that people with extreme anxiety and irritability, depression, etc., I think they're the ones that would benefit the most from a really low carb diet. It's like you get a completely different way of looking at reality. Your mind completely changes, guys, when you're on less carbs. It's just difficult to get to that point because most of us have eaten carbs habitually for so long that when you up and stop, you can run into some pretty discomforting or uncomfortable, symptoms, because there's an adaptation that your body has to go through to get used to less carbs. But I don't want to make this a huge rant about diet. All I'm going to say, you guys, is like, what is your dream reality? What is it that you want in life? And what is it that's stopping you from at least going about attempting to achieve that way of life? You know, there's strength and power and will in attempting to obtain something that you want deep down, regardless of the opposition and regardless of all of the signs around you that are showing you that you can't have that, right? We tend to give up too easy at the face of adversity, and that's a cultural thing, you guys. We tend to try to take the easiest way out, even at the expense of it not being what we actually want. So regardless of whether or not you can manifest, I don't really like that word, but regardless of whether or not you can manifest your dream life, you should at least go about attempting to do it and put everything that you've got into it, you guys. You've got one life here in this particular incarnation. There is no reason why we have to settle for less. It's ridiculous. But what I've found, again, I don't want to make this too much about diet, I've found that one of the greatest ways to get the energy to conquer the adversity that life is going to throw at you when you go about attempting to achieve your dreams, one of the best tools that you could ever utilize to gain more strength to push forward regardless of the opposition is proper diet. And for me personally, meat, fruit, and venom, supplements, grounding, and a few other things, you guys. This has been so fucking strong. And it will get to the point, you guys, where when you find the diet system that works well for you, one that makes you feel great, both inner and outer, it will get to the point where you feel so good and your energy is so high and your mind is working so efficiently that the idea of going off of the system is laughable, right? Is laughable. And I'm not saying that you can't have a cheat day here and there, you guys, but again, it gets to the point where the body feels so good, it feels so clean, your mind feels so sharp, your cognitive processing skills are so laser fast that it's like, I don't need any of that crap. And on top of that, you guys, meat and fruit, it's like these are two very delicious things. They pair very well together. Like, I really love making ground beef bowls and then cutting thin strips of banana into it. Meat and fruit pair very well. A lot of people are afraid to mix the sweetness of fruit with meat. It's one of the most delicious things ever. Apples pair very well with ground beef too. So ground beef is a staple of mine. I always use the 73-27 split. I want all of the fat, you guys. I think that this low fat kind of culture that we live in is ridiculous. The brain is made largely of organic fats, and most people are starving themselves of actual bioavailable fats. So the venom shakes that you use every night on this system are full of fat-soluble vitamins. They're full of bioavailable choline. The cholesterol in the venom shakes is going to be very good for cognitive health. Again, there's an agenda behind demonizing cholesterol. Cholesterol can be dangerous if it's eaten in conjunction, with processed refined carbohydrates. If you're in a chronically elevated state of inflammation and you eat a lot of cholesterol, you guys, you're asking for trouble. But you shouldn't be eating a diet that causes elevated inflammation. You want to be eating in a way that reduces inflammation. And you'll know when you're not inflamed because your body is going to feel much looser. You're not going to have the stiffness and the aches and pains. Like, we shouldn't be living like that. We just shouldn't. It's ridiculous. Like, if I eat improperly, you guys, after the second day of doing that, if I eat some junk food, when I wake up in the morning and I put my feet on the ground, I feel so fucking stiff and miserable. And it takes quite a long time for my muscles, especially in my calves and my upper legs, to loosen up. Like, I'm just stiff as a board. And that's from elevated inflammation. If you live inflamed for long enough, you tend to get used to it. It's amazing how quickly the body will adapt to a suboptimal somatic kind of state. Somatic means other related to the body. Like, if you're inflamed for months on end, you guys, your body, you tend to get used to feeling like shit. And when you get used to feeling like shit, you really don't know how good you could actually feel. It feels incredible to be in a body that isn't bound to inflammation, right? And that inflammation isn't just in your muscles, you guys. It's in every part of you. Hi, Thebe. It's in your brain. It's in your organs. It's everywhere. So, you don't need NSAIDs. You don't need aspirin. You don't need acetaminophen when you eat a diet that is anti-inflammatory. And again, when you stay on an anti-inflammatory system, you guys, you're going to feel the difference. You're going to feel incredible. Your legs are going to feel light. You're going to feel light as a feather. And when you get to that point, you guys, your energy is going to skyrocket. Because when you're inflamed, your body's energy is constantly just compensating or busy dealing with the inflammation, you guys. Because there's a physical response to inflammation. Your body has to buffer all sorts of stuff. It's ridiculous. It's insane. So when you get uninflamed, when you reduce the inflammation, you're going to get as light as a feather, and that's when that's what you're going to feel like. When you're stiff and you're achy, it feels like you're carrying around a 1,000-pound sack. When you become uninflamed, when you get rid of the inflammation, you guys, you loosen things up and you feel incredible. So you're going to feel as light as a feather. And once you drop the inflammation, that's when you're going to start experiencing elevated energy. You're going to have so much energy if you're truly uninflamed that you're going to need an outlet for that energy. You're going to. This is when exercise becomes fun. If you're inflamed, if you're on an unhealthy system, exercise is a fucking miserable chore, you guys. So many people don't like exercise, and it's because of the way that they eat. and what's going on in their body. So for me, it's like when I have a rest day, I fucking hate it. I slept an hour recently, 1 hour, and then got up and had to deal with some shit at the house for pretty much all day. And then later that night, it was like 9 o'clock. Even though I had only slept 1 hour, I still ran 6 miles. I ran 6 miles and walked about 4 miles. And yeah, that's not necessarily the smartest thing to do on like 1 hour of sleep, right? But I am very interested in structured sleep deprivation. I will talk more about that in the future. It has to be done very carefully, but you'd be surprised the types of states of consciousness you can enter through proper sleep deprivation. But I mean, that's how much energy I have, you guys, that even though I had only slept, it was actually a little less than an hour, I still had to get out there because I was itching for my body to move. The body is an incredible machine. It's an organic battery, but that battery needs to not be inflamed. And that's the type of culture that we live in, where the foods are engineered to cause elevated inflammation to the point where you get used to it and you feel like shit, but you don't know how shitty you feel because, again, the body adapts very rapidly. Very fucking rapidly. Like, you can get your life back. You can get your energy back. You can get your imagination back. You see, the body and the mind are intimately connected, the emotional field, the spiritual bodies, the aura, everything. And when you get on a system that like truly heals you from the ground up, all of those bodies, all of those parts that make you who you are, made in the image of the Creator, you start to heal, you guys. You start to heal. It's incredible. You start to look at everything differently, right? Like, you start noticing things that you didn't notice prior. For instance, the sunlight beaming through leaves. You ever look at a tree and just watch the sunlight hit the leaves and the way that the leaves dilute the light and you can see all the veins running through the leaves? Like, it's incredibly beautiful. This is an incredibly beautiful reality. But when you're inflamed, when you're stuck in stasis, when you've got all these issues in life, you guys, it's very difficult to see the beauty. It's very difficult. We tend to get caught up in an energetic momentum that blinds us from seeing the things around us that are truly fucking magical. So again, my dream is to fucking have the most beautiful homestead. And like, I've wanted for years to live in a series of yurts, like professional yurts. But these, I'm telling you guys, let me look them up one more time, just to make sure I'm giving you the Earthbag Domes. These are cooler than the yurts. And I feel like you could make these in the most neat, modified way and connect them through hallways, etc. Very interesting stuff, you guys. Some other neat ones are the underground Hobbit style shelters. That's not my style, but it is a neat way of living. These tiny cob houses, or what's known as cob cottages, canvas wall tents on a platform, not my style. These gothic shepherd's huts, all of these are neat, you guys. Shipping containers that have been converted into homes are very neat as well. When I was in high school, believe it or not, junior and senior year, I wanted to become a police officer in Anchorage, Alaska. I have family in Alaska on my dad's side, and I always wanted to move to Alaska, become a police officer, and live in a series of shipping containers that were modified into a two-story home. Crazy thinking back at high school that was my dream, but I can see it, however, why I wanted that, because I always wanted the isolation, and I planned on living in a very remote area in Alaska by myself in a series of these shipping containers that were modified into a home. But things have changed. Life is constantly in movement, right? So, anyways, you guys, I'm going to wrap this one up by saying that if you clean up your lifestyle, if you clean up what you eat, there's a good chance you're going to start healing to the point where you realize that, wow, I settled for something that isn't in the alignment with what I truly need and truly want in life. So again, I think that we should all try to tap into the power of obtaining that life that we've wanted. Most of us, if you do the digging, if you go beneath the skin and jewelry, you're going to find that there's stuff in life that you've wanted that you've kind of let go of. And I know that we can't have everything that we want, but there's a certain foundation that we should all have or strive to have so that we can have a peaceful, exciting, imaginative life, you guys, right? So anyways, until next time, check out the links in the description box below. If you want to donate to this channel is user supported. And until next time, peace be with you all.